How's it going, everyone? My name is Shizukira, and today we are going to talk about the JP livestream that just happened. Now, there was quite a bit of information in this livestream, but we are going to skip like the whole first half of it. A lot of this was just a lot of yapping, kind of introducing the game, showing off like a trailer and whatnot. We also got like some introductions for, we have Renoa there and a few others. A lot of this is stuff that we already knew. So we're going to skip straight to this point where we get some new information. Some of it was already kind of speculated, but some of it is new to a lot of people. Firstly, we do have confirmation here that the first banner is going to be Haru. So she is going to be a justice unit. So that's the blue units. And she's going to be a striker as well. Judging by the kit we see later on, she's very much a single target DPS. She has some AoE capabilities, but she is mostly single target. We can also see here that Mika and Beryl are going to be the two 4-star units on the banner. Now, I'll bring it up a little bit at the end of the video, but I am working on adding the information we got to this. So I will start working on Haru's card, also Asteria. We'll take a look at that in just a second. But I am starting to add everything to here. A quick note about Haru's character card when I make it. It will go live right after launch. However, the art for her cards will come at a slightly later date. I want to make sure the information is out there first, then we can worry about the card art when everything else is taken care of. But back to the live stream, if we go forward a little bit more, we are going to see Asteria is going to be the first 5-star partner. She will be the rate up. And we can also see here that the 4 stars on her banner are going to be Alyssa and Rosaria. So we can take a look again at the spreadsheet. I will show you who those are quickly. So we have Alyssa here. Now keep in mind that these can change when the full game comes out. This is just what we had in the playtest, but she is going to be for controller units. So she will work on Mika. You can also use her on someone like Nia, or you can use it on Cassius, any of the controllers that we have. Personally, I kind of prefer to have Arwen on my controllers, especially because you get a bit of this damage reduction here. And it's just a bit better of a defensive partner to have, but you can also run Alyssa if you want that morale for one turn. And the other one we're going to see is Rosaria, who is going to go on Rangers. Again, we have Beryl being the other 4-star, so Rosaria is ideally the 4-star you would want for her. And again, we can kind of expect there to be some slight changes with exactly how our ego skill and passive work, as well as the ego cost. Again, this is all going to be updated once the game comes out, but just so you know which 4 stars are coming, there you go. Also, one thing I'm just adding in later that I forgot to mention, this part down here, there is a 100% guarantee on the partner banner. If you pull the rate up partner, when you get a 5-star, it will be Asteria. There are no other 5 stars on the banner. You can't get spooked by anything else. If you want to get multiple copies of Asteria, you will always get Asteria. So there is no 50-50 on the partner banner. But of course, the combatants will still have that 50-50. So next up, we have the beginner banner that we also had in the playtest, but we have here, it is going to be 50 pulls to be able to get a 5-star, but there is a 20% discount on these pulls. So it will not cost 10 standard pulls, it will cost 8 per 10 pull. So in total, you're only going to need 40 pulls to finish out this banner, and you will get your 5-star. Now, as some people may know, in the playtest, if you got a 5-star before 50, you still got your 5-star at 50. The banner didn't go away, you didn't lose your guarantee. You were always guaranteed at 50, no matter how many 5-stars you got before that. We don't have confirmation here that it will stay that way, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that it will. Just keep in mind, there's no guarantee of that. Moving on a bit further here, we are going to have the standard banner. Now, the characters you see here aren't rate up in any way. It's just characters that they are showing off who are in the standard banner. We are keeping the 70 pity for a 5-star, and this 300 here. When you get to 300 pulls on the standard banner, you get a 5-star selector for a standard unit on that banner. Personally, I don't think this will apply to future standard banners. I think it will be like what they have in Wuthering Waves, where it is just those original ones that are going to be on there. So even when Haru gets added into the standard pool, which we know is a thing that will happen, I would not expect Haru to be on this selector. So if you're thinking to save the selector for a future unit or something, I wouldn't recommend doing that because it's very unlikely they end up on here. I could be wrong. There's no confirmation of that. That's just the assumption that I'm going with. Personally, I will just be saving it to pick up someone I don't have. So if I don't have like an Aulia or Veronica or something, then I'll probably pick that up, but we'll see what happens. And then lastly is the partner banner. Obviously, as we already know, you are guaranteed to get a partner on this banner. You cannot get a 5-star character on the partner banner. You can only get partners. And personally, that just kind of adds to the reasons I would recommend free-to-plays probably shouldn't pull on the partner banners and just wait until you're able to buy the partners with certain currencies that you can earn from pulling, earn from different gameplay. And then on the other hand, if you are paying, then I mean, depending on how much you're paying, you can pull whatever you want. But again, the pity will still be 70 for this one. Now here they do show off the animation for Haru's cards. I will show off for just a little bit. We will talk about the effects of these in a moment when we get to her cards because they have been shown off. But here are the foil animations for those who want to see it. They do also show off the Haru promotional video trailer thing. This is the same video that they had released just a couple days ago to show her off. So there's nothing new here, but they do show it for those who haven't seen it already. Here we just have a little bit of information about Haru. We have the description about her down here. We also have her birthday here being on the 30th of May. She's part of Terracion. Obviously the name is Haru. Just a few different bits of information here, but nothing super important when it comes to gameplay. Now over here, we are going to see her whole deck except for the epiphanies. Those epiphanies are not in here, but we do have the base version of all of the cards. Starting off with her basic cards, nothing too crazy here. We have Anchor. This is just going to be 100% damage. Next, we're going to have a Power Anchor, which is 220% damage at 2 costs, so a bit more damage, but a bit more price. We've seen this with a couple other characters as well. The third card we're going to see here is Anchor Drop, and this is just going to give 100% shield. And those are going to be her 3 basic starting cards. We then have her 4th starter, which is Anchor Shot. This is going to be the main gameplay loop for Haru. What this is essentially doing is it will do a lot of damage, but each time Anchor Shot is used, it will increase the damage of Anchor Shot. Now it's going to be plus 60% up to 5 times on top of the 240 that is already there. So this should cap out at a base damage of 540% when it has been fully stacked up. Then moving on to her unique cards, we have a 0 cost skill here called Anchor Pointer. And what this is going to do is it is going to find an anchor shot from either the graveyard or from your deck and move it to your hand immediately. So this is just going to be a really good card to be able to play those anchor shots faster and get them out more often. Ideally, you would be playing anchor shot into Anchor Pointer to then play another anchor shot. It is going to be expensive with Anchor Shot being a 2-cost card, but we'll need to see the epiphanies. Obviously, we have characters like Mika who are going to be able to generate some more AP. So Mika's going to be really, really good for Haru, and we will see some example teams that they show a little later on. But moving on to the next card here, we have Power Charge. What this is going to do is 180% damage to all enemies. However, if you only hit one enemy with this card, it will do an additional 80% damage. Now, from the sounds of it, that just means it is going to be one hit of damage for 260%. It's not going to be 2 different hits, but when the game comes out, we can actually confirm that. But for now, it seems like it's 180 AoE or a 260% single hit to one enemy. Next up here, we are going to have Energy Charge. So what this is going to do is for 1 turn, Haru is going to deal 30% more damage with her attack cards. Presumably this is unique to Haru and not for the whole team, but there is some weird wording sometimes with when it says you, whether that means the character, whether that means the whole team. So we need to test this to be sure, but presumably this is an extra 30% damage for Haru's attack cards for 1 turn. And it's also worth noting that this is a retain card, so you can keep this in hand at the end of your turn. And moving on to the last one, this is also a retain card. What this one is going to do is when you have Anchor Shot in your hand, you can reduce its cost by 1 and increase its damage by 70%. So that's actually going to let you play Anchor Shot into Anchor Pointer into another Anchor Shot while being buffed by this. Now, again, you would still want Mika because you would want to play other people's cards. Maybe you want a Cassius to be able to pull these cards in more often. But the fact that these are retained cards means it's going to be super, super comfortable to play Haru and get big damage out on a single turn, because you already get to keep half the important cards in your hand at all times. So of course, when the game comes out, we will be pulling for Haru and we'll be looking to test her and stuff. Obviously, in the early game, everything is going to hit hard. It's not much to go off of. But as we get towards end game and we get to test her with gear and get to test her with her ideal deck and stuff, we'll really get to see how much damage she can put out and how consistently she can do that. So this one is called Power Strike, and it's going to do 350% damage at 6 cost. Now what this says is that you will get plus 50% damage for each buff that you currently have. So you can see here the 0 because at base you won't have any buffs, but for each buff you get, you will have an additive 50%. So what I mean by that is that if you have 2 buffs, it will be plus 100%, so 450 damage. It won't double it to 700, it will just add that extra 100% on top. So that's another reason why maybe you want to bring someone like Nia, because not only is Nia going to be buffing her damage, but those buffs are then going to equal a larger hit on this attack. A small side note as well is that Haru is potentially going to be really good with vulnerable. So one of the things with the vulnerable debuff, which makes enemies take more damage, is that every hit removes a stack. So multi-hitters like Tressa, for example, might struggle to benefit from vulnerable because they're doing so many hits. It's really hard to keep up those vulnerable stacks to make sure every hit is doing the most damage it can. For Haru, that seems like it's going to be much less of a problem. You're going to want to get a couple stacks of vulnerable and then use Haru's big heavy hitting attacks, which there aren't many, but they hit really hard, and they will take advantage of vulnerable to potentially nuke enemies and especially nuke bosses. Now, my first impression of her is that she will be really good going through the roguelike because she does have some AoE in her kit, which is going to be really useful. We know that the roguelike has a lot of AoE leading up to the elites, leading up to the bosses, and it seems like Haru is not going to struggle with that whatsoever. So again, we'll get a better impression of this in game, but kind of my early pre-release thoughts of her is that, yeah, she's going to be amazing. She's the first rate up. Of course, she's going to be good. How long is she going to be good? We have no idea. But on release, there's a good chance that she is absolutely insane for going through the roguelike mode. Now, moving on a little bit here, they did give us a little bit of a description of how you want to play her, as well as some recommended teams. This was also tweeted out by them as well with an English version. They did remove the card text, which is a little weird, but I will leave this in the description if you guys want to give this a proper read. And within there, you will also have the recommended teams. So this isn't too surprising. Again, here you have a very buff heavy team. This is going to be looking to power up her ego really well. It says here, card cost reduction, faster deck cycling, going to be really good. Over here, you're going to have basically your free-to-play Haru team. Again, you're going to have the matching element here, so if there is something that is weak to justice, this team is going to hit really hard. And of course, you're going to be able to gain action points, and essentially the plan is going to be that Mika's going to keep you alive and build up those action points. Haru is going to be stacking up the anchor shot, and while this is going on, Beryl's going to be retaining her cards to build up their damage. And then on 1 or 2 turns, you can just go all in with both Beryl and Haru and absolutely nuke anything that is on the field. And then the last team here is going to be your Khalipe team. Now, we did do a video recently about the nerfs to Khalipe and some of the changes we've expected before going into the live release, so you can check that if you want to. But what we also said in that video is that Khalipe is most likely still going to be really good. It's just that in this team comp, she is going to be your shielder, and you're not really relying on her for the damage because Haru is going to be bringing most of that. However, like it says here, there is synergy with the Celestial cards. So for those who don't remember, Celestial is the effect where if a card costing 2 or more is played, the Celestial card is also played, and that will end up costing 0 AP for that Celestial card. So because Haru has some 2-cost cards, she can help trigger Khalipe's mechanic, which is going to be really useful. So for those of you who are pulling Haru on release, feel free to try out some of these teams that the devs have given us directly. Obviously, we'll be doing some of our own testing. Maybe I'll put some of these synergies onto the spreadsheet as well so that people have access to that. Maybe they haven't seen this video or they haven't seen the live stream, but out of the gate, this is their recommendation for Haru. Now, over here, they do talk about trauma code for quite a while. We won't dig too deep into this, but essentially what trauma code is they are like side stories for the characters, for people who wanted that kind of deeper, darker story to come from Chaos Zero Nightmare. This is the place where you are looking to find it. We have good endings, we also have bad endings. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of twists and turns and stuff. Now, in the playtest, this actually wasn't available. This is found in the same room where you recover people's mental states, where you can either use the ticket or you can erase their memories. That same kind of hospital room is also where you will find trauma code. So again, for those looking for that darker, kind of grittier story, this is going to be the place to find that. Now, this section here is really interesting. So essentially, this is where you'll get to trial the new rate up characters. In this case, the trial is for Haru, and you're going to get Mika and Magna alongside her. They will also have Haru with Asteria, that is going to be her signature partner here. And what they've done is they've given you some of the cards and explained how you want to play these cards to get an idea of how this character is best utilized. So an example here, so this card here is Ice Charge. This is going to be Magna's card, and it's going to deal damage to all enemies, but it's also going to debuff them. And it's saying that after that, you then want to go in with Power Charge, which is this first card here. This is actually an Epiphanied version. So Power Charge was the card that is 180 to all enemies, or 260 to a single enemy if there's only one. But here we actually have an Epiphany where it's going to deal 270 damage instead. And then they've also showed off Energy Charge here. So this is the one that's going to increase Haru's next attack, as well as the upgrade card here for Magna. And essentially, this is just going to give you an idea of how you are supposed to play this character and give you an idea of what works well with them. Do you want to give them buffs, debuffs, that kind of thing? So I think this is really, really interesting, and it's definitely going to help people kind of understand what these characters do. Moving on from that, we are just going to see gameplay of them trying out this feature and trying out the different cards and stuff. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't looked too much at how much the cards have changed for Magna and Mika, for example. We have seen that Mika has seen a nerf. Her ego is now up to a 6 cost. So we already had the nerf for one of her cards. For those who didn't see, she has had a card change, which kind of nerfed it a bit. And we've also now seen an ego nerf here where it's now costing more. On one hand, it does suck to see the 4 stars kind of being nerfed from the playtest. But on the other hand, Mika was performing outrageously well. And she was outperforming a lot of 5 stars. Honestly, like all the 5 stars. Like Mika is absolutely insane. And I still think she's going to be incredibly good on release, but they have brought her down a bit more in line with the rest of the roster, which I think makes sense. As long as they're not killing off the character and making her useless, I think it's fine to bring her down to a more normalized level. That being said, we can also see here that there is another trial that they are showing off. This time it is trialing Owen with Mika and Haru. Now, moving on to some of the rewards we will get. The 200 pulls that were mentioned in the developer commentary are here. So it is 155 standard pulls and 45 rate up pulls. Now, this will not be given all at once. As you increase your account level and play the game, you will be receiving these. So this is not including the gems and stuff you get from your first time clears of different stages and all those different things. These are essentially account level up rewards that you will be getting to be able to pull on the different banners. So if you consider the 45 pulls we get here, as well as everything they're going to be giving us, it is more than likely you will be able to guarantee Haru for yourself. And with these free standard pulls, you'll be able to finish out the beginner banner and you'll be able to get several 5 stars really, really early on. So for people who are re-rolling, it's a little rough because these aren't going to be up front. So you're not going to be able to just throw out 200 pulls, no account, 200 pulls, no account. But for those people who aren't re-rolling, which includes me, I won't be re-rolling either, these are the things that we can look forward to really early on, and we'll be able to build up our roster quite quickly, which is really, really good. Now, I know some people are probably going to be upset because they wanted more rate up pulls. Personally, I'm not too worried about it. If you really, really wanted, hold on to those standard pulls, and when Haru goes into the standard banner, then spend them. And then you have a chance to get Haru because she will go into the standard banner. So it's up to you how you want to spread these. I know some people are just going to want to spend them immediately. I'm probably going to spend most of them immediately if I'm being honest. But for those of you who are going to be skipping the first banner and maybe want to save up a little bit, there is a lot here that you can save moving into the future banners. Another thing we have here is, as we know, we will be getting Amir for free. I am begging that she has seen some buffs because I was pretty underwhelmed by her in the playtest. I'm not going to lie. I would like to see some improvements to Mika. We'll have to wait and see. And we will also be given 800 crystals. I know I called these gems earlier, but yeah, they are crystals. This also comes with the 300 crystals that we are going to be getting as well. So that's almost a full 10 pull. That we'll get this one in the mail. I assume this one will be in the mail too. I'm not 100% on that, but those are 1100 crystals that we'll be getting up front. Now, we won't dwell on this for too long, but essentially there's going to be a lot of VTubers that are going to be streaming the game on release, especially those part of HoloLive. So you can see 4 of them here that are going to be streaming it and the times that they will be streaming it. They also show off a graphic around here, which is going to show off almost all of them. There's 40 here. I do believe they said 44, but I think that's including the 4 that were just shown off. But yeah, everyone who is on here is also going to be streaming the game. So if any of these that you follow, any of these that you want to watch or whatever, there you go. Personally, I wish Okayu was playing the game. A lot of people know I'm a huge Okayu fan, but nonetheless, still a large roster of really good VTubers here if you want to watch them. Obviously, gotta plug myself, I will be streaming the game as well, but of course, I will not be streaming 24 hours a day. A lot of other people who will be streaming too. There will be tons and tons of content for you to watch when the game comes out in what is around 14 hours at this point. Over here, we are going to have an illustration contest. So again, they've done a few of these already where, you know, artists can draw fan art of all the different characters and stuff and submit that in for a chance to win rewards. So if there's any artists who are interested, that is the thing that they are currently doing. And then that is largely going to wrap up what we saw in the JP livestream. So quite a few interesting things. We got some insight into things that we were interested in. We got to learn about some of the rewards we're going to get. We got to learn a lot about Haru's kit. Of course, just seeing her kit is not going to be enough. There will need to be testing that is done. We will need to see how strong she is, what her best compositions are going to be. Obviously, there were some suggestions in here, which is really good. I really like how they're kind of giving suggestions on best teams and best ways to play these different characters. I think what a lot of people tend to forget is that the casual audience is very, very casual. A lot of them aren't really watching videos. They aren't looking at giant spreadsheets of information and stuff like that. They're just logging onto the game, doing their thing, and then getting off. So the more that you can release officially, the more the developers can give information, the more that in-game you can give information, the better it is going to be for that casual player base. So while I think if you want to get the best information and the best teams and stuff, you're better off going with a content creator who is very invested and covers the game a lot. For those who are more casual, the stuff that the developers releasing is going to be really, really helpful as kind of getting your foot through the door and just learning the basics of how things are played and how synergies work. But with all that being said, once again, I will have this giant spreadsheet in the description for those who are interested. If you want to check out the most recent video, which I will link at the top right now and in the description as well, that video goes over everything you can expect in the spreadsheet. I talk a bit about the future of the spreadsheet, what my plans are for it and stuff like that, the order that things are going to be updated. I talk about the tier list and the changes that we'll be doing to that after release as well. So if you want to learn more about the spreadsheet and what you can find here, that will be linked down in the description, as well as the spreadsheet itself. And of course, I will be streaming just before servers open, maybe 30 minutes or so before the servers open. I will be starting up stream, kind of chatting and whatever, waiting for servers to open, and then we will play through the game. I will be skipping a lot of the early story on my stream. I will go back in my own time and watch a lot of that story, but my goal is really to get into the game, get these characters, get leveled up, get as strong as I can so I'm able to make these guides and get this information out for all of you guys. I will watch the story again in my own time. So for people who want to see my reaction to the story, I'm sorry, I will be skipping basically all of it, but I will go back and watch those videos. I know there's some people who will do lore videos, so maybe we can do some reactions to watching those videos or something. We'll see how that goes. But for me personally, my main goal is the gameplay, the guides, learning how to min-max things, learning what the best teams are going to be. So if you're also looking to just see some gameplay and see some tips and stuff, and you're not really looking to watch the story right now, that is what we will be doing over on my stream. Again, as with everything else, that will also be down in the description. It is twitch.tv/Shizukira, but with 2 A's. I will also be streaming on YouTube as well. So if you want to watch your streams here, you can check the channel. I might even be streaming right now, depending on the time you watch it. I might even be streaming right now, depending on when you're watching this video. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching to the end of the video, and I will hopefully see you guys all aboard the SS Nightmare. Stay safe.